Hello and welcome to this later morning, mid-morning taste challenge. We have two Canadian blended whiskeys, both with no age statement and no website list, bottled in Kentucky by the Sazerac Company. Produced at the Sazerac Company's Montreal distillery, whatever it's called. To give tours. Okay, here's Canadian Peak. Introduced in 1961. I don't think in this bottle. This is an interesting new bottle. Skinny on one side and fat on the other. Product of Canada, bottled by County Line Distillers, Louisville, Kentucky. And then I called the company and they were like, well, we don't really have a bottling plant. We don't have a bottling plant in Louisville. We have a law office where, he said, where lawyers work. He said, the plant is Frankfort, Kentucky. That's where the stuff's bottled. Buffalo Trace. I said, okay. Just going by what it says on the bottle. He said, yeah, but it's not accurate. Okay. It's got a rough finish on the back and on the front, like a fine, very fine grain sandpaper. Okay. Price point. I bought this at, and I've checked other places and they have the same price point. But I bought this in Prairieville, Louisiana, on United States Highway 61 at a store called Hocus Pocus Liquors, Hocus Pocus Spirits. Get it? Wooden cap, real cork. Nice, huh? $16, $15.99. $15.99 at Hocus Pocus. Other stores I've checked prices for, same price, $15.99, $15.99. Is Canadian Peak common? It's not common, but it's becoming more common from what I can tell. It's like it's been on the market since 1961, and Sazerac decided let's get it big, you know. So it was introduced by I don't know. I think it was Barton, but it's definitely Sazerac today. County Line Distillers is one of those Sazerac alias names. Make sure I got the right label. I do. Okay. Trying to be stingy with it because I want to use it for future taste challenges. All right. So I have 3 wins and no losses at this point. Did the Northern Lights, 1971. James Fox, 1975. Canadian Hunter, 1984. Got them all right. Now we're doing Caliber from 2004. Caliber Premium. Oh, yeah. A smooth and mellow blend from our master distillers. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Bottled by IWA Distilling Company Limited, Louisville, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And it's purple. They're always purple. And there's the crown. The 2 Canadian maple leaves. It might be made in the realm of Canada, right? The Dominion of Canada, which I've been talking about on the news so much for the last week for obvious reasons. Talking about realms. I've heard that word, realms, so many times. I'm tired of hearing the word. Okay. But I will take those odds. I will take the bet. 1,001 odds that King Charles III, King of Canada, has never drunk either Canadian Peak or Caliber Premium. Now, Crown Royal, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's had that. Probably some promotional event. The #1 Canadian whiskey in the world, named after his grandfather. Not named after. Named for his grandfather, King George VI, who toured Canada on the big important Let's Get Ready for World War II tour in 1939. They're both golden. Amber Golden. When he toured, him and Queen Elizabeth, his wife, the Queen Mother, when he and Queen Elizabeth toured Canada in 1939, the Seagram's company was so geared up for that, probably thinking we can capitalize on. They came out with their own special Canadian blend in honor of the royal visit, and it was called Crown Royal, and it was a hit. And then they decided, hey, and they sent a bunch of bottles for the king and his wife. I'm sure some cigarette companies gave a lot of free cigarettes because he was a known, puffer, inhaler. But it was such a big hit that they kept making it. They just said, well, we'll just keep making it as a normal product, a regular year-round product. So they continued making Crown Royal. And then in 1964, they decided, hey, let's start selling it in the United States, which they did. At first, it wasn't really that big. But then now it's the number one selling whiskey of any brand in the United States, of bourbon, blended whiskey, Canadian whiskey, Irish, Scotch, whatever. Crown Royal is number one for sales in the USA. You could probably look around and find some videos showing Queen Elizabeth, the late Queen of happy memory, and King Charles III, or well, back then Prince Charles, drinking Crown Royal, probably sampling it. I don't know if they were really whiskey people. I think they're more like gin people. And interestingly, Seagram's Crown Royal was always 80 proof. Wasn't ever a higher proof it wasn't like Jack Daniels and Jim Beam that they watered down to 80 over the years, but it was always 80. But if you find old bottles, if you really look around and you go to some of these liquor stores carry bottles for decades, you can find an old bottle that'll say Seagram's Crown Royal. If you find an old bottle that says Seagram's Crown Royal, then you got an old one. Well, Seagram's went out of business in the year 2000, so they just changed the name to Crown Royal. But they still do make some Seagram's brands, like Seagram's Ginger Ale, owned by Coca-Cola. Seagram's VO, Canadian whiskey, owned by Sazerac, which we're dealing with today. Seagram's 7 Crown, owned by Diageo, and Seagram's Gin, London Dry, and Distillers Reserve, owned by Pernod Ricard. Shows you how scattered that company got, huh? Okay. Am I going to be able to tell the caliber from the Canadian Peak? I think so. Oh, by the way, Canadian Peak, I told you $16 or $15.99. Caliber $10.96 at Walmart. $10.96 at Walmart. Still, it was $9.96 for years, but the price has gone up. Okay. Now, Total Wine and More is showing it in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for $11.49. 53 cents more. And they're saying that it's 60 miles from where I live. Well, it's not 60 miles, not even 50 miles. I don't know what calculation they're using, but obviously I can go half a mile and get it. And I'm going to rate it on Total Wine's website. But I like what Walmart says about it. They don't have a write-up on Total Wine. It just says whiskey. But on the Walmart website, they say it says be the first to review. Okay. Walmart, they're talking about it's comical, really. No liquor cabinet is complete without Caliber Premium Canadian. I'm like, are you kidding me? And it says, impress your guests with your bartending skills using Caliber Canadian. So this is what they claim now. No liquor cabinet is complete without Caliber Canadian. And I doubt there's anybody on planet Earth that agrees with that contention, but that's what Sazerac is saying. Oh, I'm sorry, not Sazerac, IWA Distillers Company Limited. Right. Okay. Same old story. SOS, same old story. Sweet corn, oak barrels, the vanilla from the oak, maybe sugar. Oh, yes. Same, but not the same. The sweet corn, yes. But this has more fermented character, like grains that's been fermented, but not necessarily flavored. But I don't know. But I think I was going to say, I think I prefer, but actually, I don't know which one I prefer. They both smell nice. Now, somebody off the street that doesn't do these eccentric taste challenges and have this unusual interest in products, you know, you say, you mean like a normal person? Right. Off the street, they would just say, smell like whiskey. But what is it? Bourbon? Scotch, Irish, Canadian? They probably say, man, I don't know. but but they have their little peculiarities. Let's go to taste Chaz. I want to be 4-0 after this. Okay, yeah. Sweet corn. Sweet corn. Oak from a barrel, right? You know, barrel oak, wood, vanilla. Rye spice. Yeah. It's like a peppery note. That's been the case with all of these. It's not predominant or anything such as that, but it's just there, you know, it's present in the back. Maybe sort of far in the back, but it's there. All right. What about wheat? I don't think they're using wheat whiskey in this. What about malt whiskey, single malt, like they say in Scotland, malt whiskey? They're probably using a little bit, but for these two products, they're probably not using a whole lot because they're inexpensive, you know. Even though the bottle says premium. Yeah, that's why it's $10.96 for a handle now. Not just a regular bottle, a handle, which is a regular bottle plus 1,000 milliliters thrown in. Yeah, premium, sure. Walmart, or Total Wine, who also obviously sells it since they're showing it on their website. But I bought the bottle at Rouse's. I didn't buy it at Walmart or Total Wine. I bought it at Rouse's, and I didn't pay $10.96. Get this, Rouse's had it for $5. 2 bottles for 10. I think you had to buy both though. 2 for 10. I was like, well, I don't need this product. I'm not really dying to drink it again, but I ain't passing up 2 handles for $10. Never gonna happen. So I went to the checkout, and the girl was like, "It won't ring up." I said, "Well, it's got the tag, you know, the hand punch tag thing." I say, "It's 2 for 10." Oh, she says, "Oh." But then she goes and rings it up 2 for 5. And I'm looking at her like, what are you doing? Because it's 2 for 10. She's thinking, oh, that's $5, so it's half of that, which is $2.50. She's like dividing the divide. You know, I'm like, no, you don't divide the divide. I say it's 2 for 10, $5 a bottle. Oh, so she corrects it. Before it was a void, you know, because if it's a void, they got to call the manager and all this. So then she rung it up 2 for $10. So $5 a bottle. I got an extra bottle sitting in the closet back there behind that closet door. Going to take me 20 years to drink all this. I was going to give the other bottle to John Anilio, and I forgot to bring it when I went to Georgia in 2019, but he ain't interested in this. He doesn't really even like these whiskeys. So I'm like doing him a favor, really. I mean, if he comes out here, I'll give it to him, and then he'll be like, oh, good. Now I got to figure out what to do with it. He's not a Canadian whiskey guy. He is a little bit, but like things like 40 Creek, Canadian Club, 12-year age, not Caliber and Canadian Lake and stuff like that. And I can't take issue with it. Okay, I'm gonna give you something good like Oh, he liked that Crown Royal XO. He wants to do a duo examination when I get to it. So yes, I think he'll rather drink like a scotch. This has got to be the doggone caliber because I'm tasting nut oil, and I'm not kidding. Do they add nuts? No. If you look at the Canadian regulations, if you can find them, which you probably can't, including me. I used to be able to find them, then something happened like with their website. But yeah, and why do they have a billboard on Louisiana Highway, Louisiana, not Canada? This week I'm driving down Louisiana Highway 3188, and there's a big billboard, you know, the electronic billboard, and it says the the what does it say? The jewel. Something the jewel, and it showed a picture of Queen Elizabeth, and it had the date 1926 to 2022 with her profile, a photo, a modern photo, you know. Oh, it said the crown jewel. That's what it said. The crown jewel. I'm like, well, why is this billboard up here? Did we become a British colony again or something? Again, because Louisiana was never. I guess some private person paid for it. I was like, what am I looking at? All right. You see this one over here has sweet corn flavor, but there's no flavorings. So like I say, if you look on the Canadian government website and look at the list of what flavorings are allowed, but then you'll probably not be able to find it, like I couldn't recently, it's going to say they can use bourbon itself from the United States. They can flavor it with rum. They didn't say rum. They didn't say white, clear. I mean, white and clear is the same. I mean to say white, gold, black strap, dark. They don't say. Just say rum. Brandy. And they said wine. It just said wine. Stipulation must be barrel aged for at least 2 years in small wood, which means a regular barrel, small wood, not a big vat. I said, well, golly, that's like an endless possibilities. It must be 100 million possibilities there, really, literally. Wine. So it could be port, ruby port, tawny port, regular port, Madeira, Marsala, sherry, cream sherry, dry sherry, cocktail sherry, red wine. You know what I mean? So they're not going to tell you what the flavoring is. You're never going to find out. And there's no use just taxing your mind to try to guess. But the flavors are natural. It's not artificial. Okay. But to me, it tastes like, and Johnny Neely said that it tastes like almond extract. But it cannot be that. Almond and almond extract is not on the list of approved flavorings. So I'm thinking it's some kind of tawny port that's tasting like that. Craft Beer Tastic said, I get the feeling that Generation Z incompetency is the only the beginning. Wait until the C19 generation of kids grow up. I don't know about those videos that have been putting on Facebook and other social media. I think they cherry pick those videos. Maybe they record 100 videos and they just go and pick the ones that are so ridiculous. How many states are in the United States? And they're saying, I think it's 5. And you're like, and the guy's like, yes. Oh, Queen Elizabeth of England was from what country? And they got people saying, I don't think she was a queen, though. It's stupid. Or how many moons does the Earth have? Or showing the guy a clock, what is this time? So they have people ignorant like that. I realize that. I work with people like that, and I interact with people like that every day. They don't know north from south, east from west. You tell them, oh, it's on the north side of the highway. You're looking at them, and they don't know what you're talking about. They've heard the word north, good witch of the north, but the direction north is aloof to them. But you would hope, am I hoping too much that most people would know north from south, east from west? That they would know how many states And they were asking, like, what two countries border the United States? And the girl's like, I know Canada, but I know it. She said Canada, but I know it's not Mexico. I'm like, what? But I remember back in the 90s, they were the thing on the news that somebody wanted to mail something to New Mexico. And the post office was like, well, you got to pay foreign tax on that if you're going to New Mexico. That's a different country. Post office, right? They're saying, what? What are you talking about? All right. Well, go to a bar. Go to any bar, and they're going to have their beer list. It's going to say domestic, Budweiser, Bud Light, Michelob Ultra Naturally. And it's going to say imports, Foster's. And you tell the bartender or the waitress, say, well, why you got this listed as an import? Oh, it's Australian for beer. You say, no, it's made in Texas under contract. It's not an import. It's from Texas, Fort Worth, Texas. Well, look, I don't, they're going to charge you import prices for a beer from Texas. So, there's a lot of scams going on in this world. Okay. Which one do I prefer? Well, in this case, it's tough to say, but I guess I prefer the Canadian Peak because it's more pure without the flavoring. This is a Canadian Peak. Ah, ha, ha, I got it. 4-0. 4 wins, 0 losses. Now, your counterpoint might be, yeah, but you did it against flavored whiskeys. Good point. Will that continue? Will the success rate continue? Undefeated? Well, seriously doubt that. But it'll be a lot better than the bourbon thing with the Boots bourbon, Jethro T. Boots versus everybody else. But you see, in my defense, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. When you're doing bourbon, watch out because those bourbons have strict rules and they start making them taste all alike. From the cheapest of the cheap to the highest of the high. Now, don't start getting foolish and cross-styling. When you start cross-styling, you're asking for trouble, and plus your experiment would lack validity. It would be invalid. It's not testing what you claim is testing. You don't take a straight bourbon and put it up against a blended bourbon. Those are two different styles of whiskey, okay? So don't do it. I see people do bizarre beer taste challenges. And I'm not making this up, like on video in the last 2 months. I'm going to do a blind taste test between Guinness Foreign Extra Stout and Miller High Life, something like that. And I'm like, well, how is that a challenge? No one would ever confuse the two. Nobody. And I mean, the most amateur beer drinker would never confuse Miller High Life with Guinness Stout. Okay? Especially Foreign Extra Stout. All right? So there's no point to the blind taste test because you can't confuse them, even if your eyes are open, closed, whatever. So, I mean, you could do a video saying which one I prefer, but I still don't see the point of it. There's no challenge involved. There's no challenge aspect to it. There's really no sense to it. It'd be like saying, I'm gonna do a homemade Duncan Hines chocolate cake versus Del Monte early June peas. And then you say, I prefer the peas because I'm more inclined to eat salty food. Okay, that's fine. But what's the point of the video? You see, there's no sense to it. We try to keep some kind of cognitive reality going on here. Cognitive not even consistency, just like basic logic, but anyway, all right. But on the other hand, they do a good job with the caliber. I gotta say, it is extraordinarily cheap. It is illicitly cheap. It's almost like so cheap that it's like you can't even regard it with a straight face. Like you want to say, come on, man, $10.96 for a bottle of whiskey, and I mean a huge bottle. It cannot be good. It's impossible. It's got to be garbage. And I would be the first to say that. But you know what? It isn't. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to pour a little bit more because you say, because you're an alcoholic. No, because I have to do the written review for Total Wine, and I can't review it on memory. Well, I could, but I don't do that. So, moral of the story. If you pay $16, do you get a much better whiskey than the one you get for $10.96? But then you got to calculate by ounce. The answer is no, you don't. In this case, you're paying a lot more per ounce for the caliber, for the peak, Canadian peak. And it is a little better, but you would save so much money per ounce buying the caliber Canadian, that it would just totally blow up any advantage you had gotten from the better flavor of the Canadian peak. So Canadian peak loses in this case. Hello, Skagit. Thanks for watching. So when you balance all the considerations, Canadian peak is the clear is not the winner. The caliber is the winner. Is it a great whiskey? Everybody knows it isn't. It's certainly competent. It's enjoyable, and it's outrageously cheap. My favorite Canadian whiskey is Canadian Club. I like Canadian Club a lot. And I enjoyed my bottle. I enjoyed every sip of it. It's gone now. I have a little bit of Canadian Club 12-year small batch, 12-year age. Thanks to John and Illy. I've been enjoying that. Anyway, all right. So I guess, yeah, I think that's the end of what I have from Sazerac, who puts out almost an endless number of Canadian whiskey brands. It's like every day they sit down and say, okay, now it's 9 o'clock. Let's think of a new Canadian whiskey brand. They just come up with something. Let's call it Royal Crest. Oh, that's already on the market, Royal Crest. Oh, it is? Okay, well, let's call it, and they think of something. I need to get Royal Crest, like I need a hole in the head. I have Gibson's Finest Rare, which is rare in Louisiana. If that's the finest Canadian whiskey, I sure hate to see the worst, because I don't think it's very good, but it's okay. Then I've got Canadian Gold, and that's gold. That is a beauty. That is a beautiful product. 1961, also I think came on the market 61. Look like they never changed the label. We'll get that. We'll get the phone in a minute. I think that Canadian Gold is Dino. It's dynamite. Man, they'll never call unless I'm doing a video, I swear. Canadian Gold, bottled in New Jersey, of all places. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a battle. That's going to be a battle. That's a battle. Canadian Club 12-year won't be a battle because there's no way you could confuse the two. Crown Royal, okay. All right, I'm game. That's going to be cool. Crown Royal Black, no kind of contest there. Crown Royal Black's going to destroy it. Crown Royal Bourbon Mash, another decimation, exasperation, and calamity. But too bad, but you're paying for that. I've got a couple of other Canadian whiskeys here. I can't remember which ones. They're around, but we'll see. And then it's off to Ireland. Oh, Skagit, I've been trying to find a Canadian Club 100% rye. Oh, I know where to get that. But for some strange reason, we don't get it here in Lubbock, Texas. Wow, you way out in Texas. Oh, home of Texas Tech University. Yep. Yep, I knew. We used to have some people live down the street from us, and the guy was an engineer for oil. I don't remember which oil company. I remember a helicopter landed across the street from his house one day and picked him up for work, which I thought was impressive. I don't know too many people go to work on a helicopter across the street from their house. But he was always like bragging about Texas Tech. Texas Tech, that's where we are. We are Texas Tech people. They were serious about that. And when they would play Texas, the Longhorns, he'd get mad. Like he would, they would get like angry, But everybody in Texas, when you say the Longhorn, they get angry. I talked to so many people from Houston for the Cougars. If you say Texas Longhorns, they want to fight. They'd be like, Texas Longhorns, these are evil people. These are evil people. They'd get crazy, And then the Aggies, the Texas Aggies, those people would really flip out, really lose their minds, But anyway, thanks for watching. And I'm going to say Canadian Peak lost by virtue of the price point. You have to take that I'm taking it into consideration because this is a very wide gap. All right. Thanks, everybody.